Welcome to Viva la Visionary, the podcast that celebrates the innovative ideas and mindsets of entrepreneurs and visionaries. Join your host, Coach Bob Schittefeld, as he dives into inspiring stories and practical insights from trailblazers who are changing the game. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned leader, this show is your source for motivation and creativity. Let's embark on this exciting journey together.
Hey there, Coach Bob Schittefeld, the host of Viva la Visionary, celebrating and elevating visionaries, and where we interview amazing visionaries and get their insights and learn and opportunities. None any better than Jonathan Reynolds, who is the founder of Titus Talent and also an amazing keynote speaker. Jonathan, how are you today?
I said right before just the prep, I said, all things considered, I'm doing really well. But I think that's probably a classic line that most visionaries can relate to. You've just got plates spinning, fires going, and
right.
It's wind blowing on the fire. Like, is this going to turn into a forest fire? Is this going to be uncontrollable? But
right.
I think most of us live in the realm of the ambiguity and the adrenaline. So I'm loving life. Yes.
Well, and I appreciate that. Yes, and stepping into the unknown, which can be scary, but most of us are pretty good at it, and have the adrenaline for it. So, all right, well, cool. So I'm going to start with a simple question, Jonathan. Why are you on this planet? Just a simple little.
Oh, just a simple one.
Right. Why are you here? I mean, I think I have an idea, but.
The two most important days are the day you were born and the day you figure out why. But yeah, I love life, passionate life. I was raised by very wild, visionary, world-changing parents. They're like, education doesn't matter. All of this doesn't matter. It's figure out why you were put on the planet and then do it with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength. And I'm like, okay. So at 15 years old, going, Mom and Dad, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm youngest of 5. Everyone's going off changing the world like my parents told them. And they went to the 4 corners and they're like, how do I find out what I was created for? And they said, one of the best things is to live in the service of others. And I'm like, well, you didn't really help me because you just told me.
Right. That's not a to-do. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, for the rest of my life, serve other people. And little did I know, 4 or 5 years later, I found myself just coming alive with the whole thing of helping people figure out their biggest issues, which are usually related to money and people.
Right.
The money side is not really the one that lights me up, but it is the people side. And right. I figured out there's this whole industry and there's businesses in there of helping people and helping companies with their people issues. So that's a very nutshell just for your listeners. I could certainly go down bunny rabbit trails all over the place.
Right. Well, we could speak for 3 days, I know. So, and then one of the things that I've seen you speak a couple times, and I've had the great fortune of spending some time talking with you and getting to know you. It's what I've gotten from you is that you are genuinely helping and serving people. And to me, that's kind of your biz dev model. So, which I love. So, I don't like to sell, and I feel like I was a trained assassin years ago. And so what I see you doing is just offering to help and share. And you're not talking about, who to hire. You're talking about how can I help? And oh, by the way, we're great at hiring people. So can you just explain real briefly, it's a different model for your biz dev of supporting your connectors is how I've seen it. But if you could explain that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I do love, I enjoy sales. I enjoy sales and marketing and branding. And because I think I love people. I love trying to figure out the way they think and what motivates, what drives people.
Right.
When it comes to like growing businesses, which that does light me up. I'm like, how do we grow this thing? How do we scale this thing? And how do we do it in a way that we, with a clear conscience, say we're doing good? And so I think that's the big part is you want to be in a business or organization that's making a positive impact in the world. And if you get paid to do that, fantastic. And if you can actually get paid to do that, not just for your own personal gain, but also for the good of all of your employees who've chosen, which I think we have to remember that they've chosen to join you in your vision. And so how do you serve them? I think that's one part. How do you serve your employees? By giving them an acknowledgement, recognition, and appreciation for the fact that they've chosen to give their gifts, talents, and skills to you for a time.
Yep.
Like that's what rewarding them well. And then also the communities that we live in, that we're doing good in our communities. I like trying to figure out how do we do that? And then obviously our clients, we call them partners, but clients, customers, like how do we figure out what their goals are and help support those as well? So all of those, if we can get the sort of simultaneous promotion of those 3 interests, I think as a business owner who carries a lot of weight and risk, and there should be some reward on that as well, with risk and reward. If we have our priorities right, I think the profits come in I should say in time. We've seen it from day one. When we started Titus, we said from our very first dollar, we want to be committed to generosity and making a positive impact. And we've been able to carry that through and never take on debt, which is amazing. And we've been debt free and Inc. 5,000 for 6 straight years now.
That's awesome.
And making a positive impact by profit sharing to our people and to the communities. That's been a real privilege. But I think getting your priorities right from early as possible, people want to get part of that. They're like, oh, right. Good. I know I'm not just buying your next yacht or boat right. or whatever it is, next vacation home, but partnering with you actually is good for everybody.
Right. So what is your 10-year target? Because it was something different than most. Wasn't it you were going to be donating X amount?
Yeah. And it's funny, I didn't even come up with this. One of our team members said, hey, that whole 30 by 30 thing. And I went, 30 by 30, what is that? Well, you said in this decade, by 2030, you want to have given $30 million to transform communities for the greater good. And I'm like, oh yeah, 30 by 30, that's cool, man. So
I love it.
Internally, we call it 30 by 30, and we're 67% of the way there and halfway through the decades, which is great. So, and that's like, we want to like sow into the communities where our employees and team members are at, and our clients as well. So whatever they're passionate about. It's not hard to give money away. People go, if you're looking for somewhere to give it, and I'm like, we are never looking for somewhere to give it.
Right.
But we've chosen to, like, if our team members are involved in their communities, we want to sow into that. And that was born out of me, actually. I remember sitting, and many parents can relate to this. If kids are in some kind of kids youth sports, and you get the dreaded meeting, which is a parents meeting, right. And it's like an info meeting, but you get there and you realize, actually, we're going to be selling candy bars for new uniforms for the kids. And I'm like, oh gosh. And I'm like, how much are we trying to raise? And I'm like, I do not want to spend my evenings knocking on doors, watching my kid try and sell candy bars for $5. And so I just said, how much is the money? And I'm like, you know what? Not out of generosity, not a servant kind heart. I just, it's that, what is it? The freedom check. I'm
right.
Like, how much do I have to pay so I don't have to do this?
I'm done.
Like, hey, I'll cover it. And everybody looked at me like, kind of like, well, it's good for the kids. And then, but also they were like, yeah, thanks. We don't have to go knocking on doors either. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll just cover that. And I realized from the position of, I'll say privilege. It's a privilege to be able to just be like, I'll write that check because of convenience. I'm like, how do I give that feeling to every one of our team members in the company that they know, like, they might not have the ability just to write the check without thinking about it. Like, how do I give that same feeling to them? Because they're the ones who gave me the ability. I'm not one doing all the labor.
Right.
They did the labor. So how do we get that? So we basically told all of our team members, like, hey, if you're ever in a situation where you're sowing into something in your community, I want you to raise your hand and say, my company will pay it. And it's like, say that. I want you to say my company, because right. It is, you don't own the company, but you own the part of profits, which is for giving back. So just say my company covers it. I wanted them to have the feeling of the privilege of ownership without the risk and provision. And it just feels good to do good and give back.
I love it. I've coached literally hundreds of visionaries through either business process or their life process. And that is one of the greatest 10-year targets that I've heard, because so often it's, we're going to hit 20 million in sales or 30 million in profit. And that's not necessarily motivating to the employees. So I love that yours is like, that's interesting. And then how do I help us get there? To go generate more business, obviously, and deliver what we say. But then we do it for good, not just for your new yacht. But yeah, no, that's so congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. And then, how do you define, what is the role of the visionary? What is our kind of job? Who are we supposed to be as the visionary?
Yeah. Well, to me, it's like in the title, it's kind of like, okay, seeing beyond, seeing where we're going and communicating that in a compelling and realistic way. I say and realistic because I have an ability to get really excited by big, lofty, dreamy things. And you've got about 15% of the company who tend to be more visionary. I think it's somewhere around that number, about 15% of the population kind of yeah. And then there's another chunk that say, I just want to be really connected to visionary things because that's compelling. And there's a whole bunch of other people that honestly, I don't really just, they're a bit more naysayers, like, okay, I'm just going to,
here he goes again.
But And so I realized that like I've got that 15%. Well, we're going to go to the moon, like or whatever. If we even did go to the moon, I don't know if it's even
Right.
but we're going to do this, and it's kind of like okay, and they get on board with it, and they don't really need the practicalities. And there's a whole bunch of people who go, really. Why don't you map that out for us and show us how the heck we're going to do it? And so I've had to learn over time going, I can paint this picture, but then I actually have to like back my way into it and go, how are we going to get there? And I think that's where you've got the great kind of second in commands, operators, integrators, whatever you want to call them. But that right hand is somebody who says, I can take your vision and I can actually roadmap this and help the people come and journey along with you. And recognizing that whatever 1 in 10, 2 in 10 ideas are actually any good anyway. But I think painting that picture in a compelling way, and then helping it one of the things I've learned is helping it translate through the entire organization, and not just leaders. Because I think your leadership team, like probably because they capture your vision and they are compelled by it. But then recognizing they might not have the same ability to communicate it in the same compelling way through all the organization. So making sure that you're spending time, kind of like William Wallace, like riding up and down the front line, making sure everybody understands what we're going to do here and why we're doing it. Because, lying in your beds many years from now, you might be wishing just we had one chance for freedom. And it's like, he's communicating that to thousands of people to know why they're fighting. And I think that we have to do that and make sure it runs through the organization to understand why are you calling us to overachieve? Why are you calling us to blow through goals? Why are you doing that? And it's that classic Simon Sinek of start with why. If it is so that we hit 20 million so that you can get that next vacation from home or the 40-foot boat that you've always wanted, I'm not in. Like most of your people are going, I don't want to do that. Know? It doesn't drive me. And so trying to find the connections there. So understanding your team members' why, what motivates and compels them, and connecting the dots all the time. Otherwise, your vision is just hallucination.
Right. No, I love that. Appreciate that. What's one lesson that you've learned that as a visionary helped you to either have more freedom or joy or peace or whatever that might be? What's one piece of advice or experience share that you have that you're like, boy, that was a great thought or move or whatever it might be?
Yeah, it's funny. In the last year, I shifted from a peer advisory group, which is big, well-known one, which is fantastic. But I shifted partly because I moved from California to the Midwest, and so I was try to find a new group. And I thought, you know what, I'm actually going to try the strategic coach and get on board with that. And probably the biggest thing is in the last year is this whole thing of unique ability and what really lights me up. And I've become more focused on that, going, okay, partly because I think probably many visionaries, this is really important. There are lots of priorities, but you can only technically have one priority.
Right. That's the definition of priority, I think. Right.
What is the ranking of my focus? And to start saying no to things a lot more than saying yes, and just not really caring what people think, because I got to do what I was created to do, and I can't carry. I know you want to do. This is what your thing is, but I'm not signed up for that. So I'll cheer you on, but I'm not taking responsibility for what you're trying to do. I'm just going to be. And if I stay in my focus, if I stay focused, it's one of my integrators' number one strength finder gifts is focus, which I so appreciate. So sometimes we'll be in a meeting and there's so many ideas on the table, and I'll just ping him on the side and be like, hey, do your thing, man. And he just knows I'm saying focus. And he'll be like, all right, laser focus time. What are we trying to do here? And it's kind of but I'm trying to apply that to my own life. And what are the 3 to 5 things that I'm in my hand that I have to master right now?
Right.
Everything else just gets thrown off. Let's throw off those things that can really distract and entangle us from what we're trying to accomplish. Otherwise, you just do everything mediocre. And I hate mediocrity.
Well, what I found, that's awesome stuff. I found a lot of us visionaries have, as Joseph Campbell says, the call to adventure. So when you suggest something, I'm like, that sounds great, I'm going to go do that. It's like, hold on, I've got 40 things back here. So it's nice to have the call to adventure, and then you mentioned having a great integrator helps. And I'm also learning I need to have a little bit more discernment, and that's not my strength. but at least to have a little bit more discernment to say no, and Dan helped me with my unique ability years ago, and now in I Matter and Unscatter the Chatter, we call it great gift. And so it's amazing how often people are like, well, yeah, I'm great at it. I love it, but that's easy. Well, that's because that's what you're here to do. So to understand that and to have my team protect me, because again, I want to go say yes to so many things that are like, but you won't be in your great gift. And then you'll be doing in the business instead of being who you are. So I love that.
Yes. Yeah, totally. I love that too. Yeah.
Cool. What's one thing, an issue or an opportunity as a visionary you're working on now, whether it be a business thing, a personal thing, a healing opportunity? What's one thing you're working on right now?
Oh, well, that's a great, you tagged on this like healing thing. I think there is a self-awareness that I'm like really, really trying to grow in, of going, what's going on beneath the surface in me, because it comes out.
Right.
If I'm irritated or frustrated or disappointed, it comes through. It comes through in tone. It comes through in the way I communicate in any way to anybody,
Right.
especially those closest to you. So my family and then leadership team, they'll feel the brunt of that. And
Right.
that vibe, if you will, comes through, and it can be demotivating for some. It can cause turmoil for others because they feel your disappointment or your discomfort, or you're upset with them. And the lack of congruency internally comes out externally, and it will affect those all around you, and you
Right.
won't achieve what you're trying to do. So I think becoming like looking in the mirror a lot more and self-awareness, going check in with my own heart and say what's going on, and make sure if I need to cancel meetings, it's better that I cancel a meeting or don't show up at all than show up with just that toxic overflow. So that's one thing personally, living like in a wholehearted way. And so that's been really helpful, and just wanting to grow in that area. And then the other is kind of this area of focus, really. Like what are the main areas as a business and personally that I want to grow in? So this is another strategic coach deal, the lifetime extender.
Right.
That really helped me. Like, how do I want to live in that last year of my life? Okay, what do I need to do in the next decade? And this is my own interpretation. What do I need to do in the next decade to actually ensure that my last year of my life is that optimum? And I was like, wow, that really was revolutionary to me. And it kicked me like last spring. I'm going to do a 1-year reset in the areas of health, finances, purpose and meaning, and relationships. And I started digging in. I'm like, if I don't want to live with regret in relationships, I need to go and put right things in the past with people I know I've really done wrong.
Love it.
And I'm like, it just brought such healing to me in my own heart and relationships, and asking for forgiveness. And even if people didn't respond, and I have people just not responding, I'm like, hey, I'm on this journey here.
Right.
And I realized that I've been hurt by people, and then I realized, I've actually hurt people along the journey.
Oh, right.
Because you came to mind as somebody, I don't think I treated you well. Will you forgive me? And I didn't get response from people, but I'm like, that's not on me anymore.
Right.
And so I think those are living in a wholehearted and just doing the deep excavation, and it's been really helpful because I show up differently now for family and for leaders. So that's really good. So yeah, 1 second here. I'm just going to change my background if I can. I don't think I can. Whatever.
It looks nice. So I appreciate what you're saying is that I think people, but especially us visionaries, we hide in plain sight. So yeah, a year or so ago, my wife is like, well, you're not happy. I'm like, yes, I am. I'm like, it's like, I actually was intrigued by what I was working on, but I was, like you said, I was putting out not a negative vibe because I was frustrated that my vision wasn't being realized. And so it's like, all right, but was my vision clear? And I've had great integrators who I'll say something and I get people all jazzed. They're like, okay, whatever. And then the integrator says, well, here's what Bob said. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, that's what I said. Or maybe not.
That's good. That's really good. That's self-awareness, though. It's like when it kicks in, we need those people around us to go, hey, just so you know, you came across like this in that meeting. And if you don't create an environment that your leaders around you can actually call you out, like, hey, just so you know how you came across, and you make a decision, I won't be defensive. Well, the reason is because so-and-so. Like, oh, I did? Okay, that's on me. I don't want to show up like that. So that's good. Really good self-awareness.
Leading by example. I love that. And that's what I'm finding. I've been coaching visionaries for 30 years and working on coaching myself. And that's what I Matter and Unscatter the Chatter is. Cheryl, my wife, and I wrote that book for me. And yet it's for almost anyone, but especially visionaries, And then with the Visionary Forum, as people have come together and they are kind of like, okay, so I've been doing all this stuff, but how do I get out of that? It's like, okay, who do you want to be and who are you? But that's counterintuitive, but it's like, yeah, but we have all this stuff to do. It's like, yeah, but as a visionary, as I can elevate myself, my mind and my heart, that's when I can see clearly and I'm more confident and then commit to self-mastery, self-awareness and whatnot. So that's awesome. I love it. All right. And then, so that's been a big part of the forum. And again, I just love hanging out with other visionaries, learning. As you may or may not know, our rally cry and then the name of this podcast is Viva la Visionary. So when I say that, what does that mean to you, if anything?
Well, I don't speak Latin.
So I didn't know what it was, but I preferred it. What's that?
You translate that for everybody? You just start speaking in a multilingual language.
Right. Well, it's interesting because someone brought that up a year ago because a lot of visionaries are like, you know what, with all of this process and clarity and structure, which is needed as we hit the ceiling of complexity in our business. But then a lot of times visionaries feel like they've been cast aside. And so it's kind of like, oh, there goes Jonathan again. Oh, here goes Bob again. And so that's what a lot of people are kind of teaching and preaching. And so someone brought it up and said, you know what? Not only has structure recently made me feel that way, but even when I was a kid, it was like, well, there goes Bob again, chasing squirrels. And it's like, someone said, Viva la Visionary, and I didn't really know. All I remembered was Viva la France. And how I remember that was, long live France. So, yes. So anyways, that's my definition.
I think we have ability to weaponize our language against anything that's different. Like, if it's different and I don't like it, or it's different and it rubs me the wrong way, like, it's like, as you say, like, oh, there they go again. And I'm like, but that's kind of how I'm wired. And it's not an excuse for bad behavior. It's not an excuse for going, if I suck at something that's important or important to those around me, I need to adapt or pay for it to get done. Like, and so it's almost like, if I here's a good example. I've been married for 21 years. I can go 3 or 4 weeks. This isn't very self-aware, but I can go 3 or 4 weeks without a date night with my wife, where we sit down, and our sort of rule of life on this is it's not technology time, it's not phone time, it's not go to the movies, because that's just entertainment.
Right.
Look in each other's eyes and actually connect over a meal and talk about life, the trivial, the deep. And I could go 3 or 4 weeks, but I tell you, our relationship will just be like, and I'm like, what the heck is wrong? And she's thinking, you don't realize? But, I'm like, unhealthy because we've not done the investment of the connection, the same page, if you will. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I can go longer than she can in the space, so I think. But it actually is not healthy. But she would get, like, after like 7 to 10 days, it's like, why haven't you not prioritized this thing that's so important? So I'm like, so when I go, oh, if this is important conceptually, I know it is really, but if it's important to you, what do I need to do? I need to put it on my calendar, and let's get a rhythm of life in this. Like, we'll take it in turns in planning it or whatever, different seasons. We do really work bad at it. Sometimes we do really great. But I'm like, if it's important, and I might say, it's really important to me, so I'm going to pay somebody to plan mine for me.
Right.
I'm going to outsource. Like, I might say to my assistant, I'm like, hey, here are the things that my wife enjoys and I enjoy together. Look for things that we can do in the area and just keep finding them, stick them on my calendar. Like, create a running list. So I'm not paying somebody to help me do the thing that is conceptually important. It is important, but I can easily forget about it. I think we can do that in life. Okay, Viva la Visionaries, kind of like, hey, listen, I want me to thrive well, and I want to enjoy what I'm doing, and I want to come alive doing that, but there are things that are important that I don't think about. So I need to either put some structure around me that actually makes sure those things happen, and make sure it's authentic. Because I could say to my assistant, could you write a card to my wife about how much I love her? Here are the 5 themes, just alternate them. And just handwrite them. Like, that's just not authentic, And I've tried that, by the way. Funny stories around that. I automated some text messages to my wife. And it was really awkward. I was like, every time I get on a plane, when I connect to the Wi-Fi, I'd send a text, right before I'm going on airplane mode or whatever. Like, I'll call you when I land, love you, miss you, And I was like, oh, that's just it's a rhythm thing. I do it every single time. I should just automate that. And when I get off the United airplane Wi-Fi, send her another text saying I've landed.
Right.
Very logical. It's great. And she'll just feel like I care for her. But then I'm like having Wi-Fi connection issues. So I'm like, connect to the Wi-Fi, disconnect from the Wi-Fi, connect to the Wi-Fi. Why is this not working? It
Right.
starts sending all these messages. I just took off, I love you, connect when I land. Landed, just took off again, connect when I love you, landed. And she's like, why are you sending me all this? And I'm like, I'm still on the runway. But why did you send it when you landed? I'm like, oh, shoot.
Right.
It was automated, But I realized that you can't automate authenticity and care.
Right.
If you try to, it will backfire.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So I've got to prioritize the things that are most meaningful to me. But I can supplement them with some level of automation or outsourcing. And so navigating that, I think, the world needs visionaries more than they need others. I'm just saying the world needs visionaries.
It's an
the world
and.
needs operators. The world needs administrative people. The world needs this. It's critical. Like the world needs analysts. The world needs risk-averse people.
Right.
They keep us balanced.
Right.
And so, you could say Viva la any personality profile.
Absolutely.
Type.
Right.
And they are all important, but don't allow people to kind of put you in a box and say, stick you in the corner because you're irritating. But we equally need to value and honor those who grate against us personality-wise.
Yep.
Like, oh, who is the one? Don't just block them out. Like, hey, I need to go spend time. You're a guardian to me. Help me. What do you see in my own way I'm operating that I'm unaware of? Go for it, and I won't even respond. I want to hear. I did this thing with our leadership team. I'm like, hey, could you fill in the sentence, that's so Jonathan, with an eye roll? What are the types of things that I do that are just, that's so Jonathan?
Right.
And they're like, well, it took them a while to warm up, when you do, visionary ideas. And I'm like, yeah, obviously, keep going. And just another layer, and then it got to the point where I'm like,
that's enough.
But I'm like, it was really helpful to me because I'm like, and I go, actually change our mind, scrap that. Wait, scrap the thing that we've been planning for 3 months, like that big event, and now you decided you don't want to do it anymore. I'm like, and now I've become a bit more aware that I'm talking to other sort of visionary leaders of the company. I said, well, yesterday, I'm like, hey, I think we should pivot on this one. And he's, yeah, I think you should pivot. I go, just so you're aware, there was a team that have been working for the last 6 months on this.
Right.
We're so demotivated. We say, hey, we're pivoting without acknowledging the fact 6 months ago, we gave them this amazing inspirational talk about how important this thing is.
Right.
And then they spent the last 6 months doing that thing that we told them.
Right.
And we've already moved on to 10 other things.
Right.
If you just go change pivot and trivialize that, they'll quit.
Right.
Like, that's so demotivating. And so I think, I know I'm waffling, but yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Two of the, I have the 6 habits of a great effing visionary talk I've done at the conference a couple times, the US conference. And one of them is to celebrate and elevate the visionary. So it's to celebrate celebrate and use the visionary. So it's like, use me. I'm really good at big problem solving. Well, no, I can't go to Bob with bad news. It's like, well, come to me sooner with a potential solution and let's work through it. But then also, let's not just make fun of me. Let's, say, hey, we need Bob, but then Bob needs the team. And that's one of the other is to create a safe space. And that's for me to the team and then the team to me as well. Because again, it's in one of my first businesses, I'm like, we can do this. They're like, we can't do that. No, that's a bad idea. And I let myself get beat down. So I stopped sharing some of those. And then they lost the crazy visionary. But then vice versa, as you said, to be able to listen is huge. So it's a deep thing. And I love how you said it's really to everyone. And my big thing is flipping from am I to I am. So I am a great visionary. I'm a great husband. I'm a great dad. That doesn't mean I'm perfect, but as that verbiage is in my head, that also is reflecting what's in my heart. And then I realize when I'm not in that space. So again, I'm a great integrator. I'm a great HR person. I'm a great mom, whatever it might be.
There's a great book, which I have a life coach named Mike Foster, and it's called The 7 Primal Questions. Been really, really helpful for me. So 7 Primal Questions, Mike Foster, and it really digs into, so you can understand yourself better, but understand kind of like it's kind of like unique ability, but really this goes down to this hyper focus into your core needs.
Right.
That was shaped probably, around 10, 12 years old, usually by some kind of something that was negative. They usually pivot to go to the other side. I need safety because I don't have safety, and so you kind of live looking for, like, do I feel safe? Do I feel safe? And he talks all about this, exactly what you just said. Like, I am safe, therefore, here we go. But one of the things we project on other people is, we assume that their primal question is the same as ours.
Right.
We assume that they're all looking. So I assume that people are looking for finding significance in the world because that's what drives me. Like purpose and significance. I'm like, well, don't you all long for purpose and significance in the world? And people are like, no, I just want to feel safe. I'm like, what? I've never once in my life thought, am I safe? Like, never. Like, I don't care. Let's go,
Right.
We project upon it, and so we speak to this primal question that we live in. But if you don't understand that there are other drivers and motivational factors in other people, we speak to our sort of, the thing that drives and motivates us, but it's just not the same for everyone else.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's for me to slow down and appreciate that I'm not the only driver of the business or the driver in our house, but to slow down and look my wife in the eye and to listen and acknowledge, and my team, which I haven't always done in my whole life. So I'm still learning. All right. Well, this has been awesome. Any other final words of wisdom for visionaries? This has been amazing.
Yeah. What are you seeing right now as you spent a lot of time with the Visionary Forum and getting away on some amazing retreats I'm hearing about? And I would love to know, what are you seeing? Are you seeing any shift that's happening with visionaries, that they're scratching their head on certain things? Are they confused on anything? Are there any thematic things that are going on in 2024, 2025?
Yeah, it's been amazing. And we touched on some of it already, where it's, we grow as a business and as a person, and we hit the ceiling of complexity. And so we need structure and process, and that's great. And one of the things we talk about in EOS is to let go of the vine. And a lot of visionaries are having a hard time letting go of the vine, but they don't know what life beyond the vine is. And that is to know myself and to think less and be and feel more, to do less and feel more. So it's more feeling and being. And part of that is through healing and getting rid of the guilt, that it's like, yeah, this is fun. And I'm great at it. And it's not just turning the crank for more hours like my dad had to do to work more. And so a lot of it is, and you mentioned the healing earlier, as we talked about. So it is kind of acknowledging that I'm a visionary, acknowledging that it's okay. And literally people come to me as a business coach and say, what's the best thing I can do to grow my business? I'm like, be the visionary. And they're like, yeah, but what does that even mean? And so again, it's helping visionaries to know it's time on our own, and it's time out meeting with other people and whatnot. So it's really, again, it's knowing myself and knowing who to be, and that's to be me. So that's been the most common thing. And to have a group of people going through that together, and we have other books, and we have, Unscatter the Chatter and I Matter as part of our foundation, which again is to realize what matters most, clarify who I am, and to follow my North Star. So my why, what, and how. So that's been the common theme, and just to realize, I'm not alone. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then when people are open, and then all of a sudden I get a hug, and it's like, that's where then the healing happens, and the vulnerability and the human connection, which is what we're here to do. So that's.
Yes, totally. I love that idea. That's pretty massive resonate with me, is like so many people trying to figure out how to use AI and automation. And I'm like, that's good for efficiency, is not good for building authentic care, trust in relationships. Like right. What will happen is you'll find a starvation, a real lack and starvation in your world if you try to efficiency everything with right. automation, because we are created for relationship, and you're going to crave it, and you're going to be like, what the heck is real anymore? So I think if we don't, as leaders, create cultures where people are highly connected relationally, yep. show authentic care. I mean, allowing people to, not emotionalism, but allow people to show their emotion. That's something you're not going to get from, I think AI is awesome. I'm like, wow, that is therapy, right. But there's not an emotion there. There's no soul behind it. And I could become delusional thinking it's this new therapist who knows me right. deeply. No, it's just information. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I appreciate that. And that sums it up to me is, what is our role and who am I as a visionary? It's building and creating great relationships. And that's with you, with my team, with my wife, my kids, and with myself, and maybe even with something greater than myself. And that's what our energy can bring and connect. So appreciate you, and appreciate all you do for our community, and excited to hang out more often. Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to Viva la Visionary. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and found inspiration in our guest stories. If you loved what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and share the podcast with fellow dreamers and doers. Join us next time as we continue to explore the limitless possibilities of visionary thinking. Until then, keep dreaming big and taking action. Your vision matters.